Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's session. So today we'll be talking about ideation. We're heading into ideation, the ideation part of the design thinking, or the ideation phase of the design thinking process. So now this is where you start seeing the UI part of, I'm so sorry. Okay, so this is where we are going to start delving more into UI because we have been discussing a lot on UX, that's user experience. We have done a lot of research, we have done a lot of definition, the empathy map, the journey mapping, the user stories, the personas. So now I want to start designing. We want to start actually creating a solution to cater to the problem we have discovered, the problem we have researched on. Yeah. So today we'll be discussing ideation, which is simply the process of generating design solutions that aligns with the user need. So now, like I've said over and over and over, ideation is the third stage of the design thinking process. So user experience designers, they are responsible for solving real user problems. And to do this, we have to empathize with our users. We have to understand their needs. And not we don't stop at empathizing or understanding them. It's different when you understand somebody, you empathize with them, you tell them sorry, and now we're trying to fill in that gap. We're trying to give them an answer to their problem or an answer to their question. So as we're empathizing and as we're understanding their needs, we should recognize that we have a responsibility as UI and UX designers to come up with creative, innovative solutions to that problem. So now, ideation is how designers continuously generate fresh ideas. As part of the design thinking process, ideation sessions help you to challenge assumptions, think outside the box, and explore uncharted territory. The ideation stage of the design thinking process is all about generating as many ideas as possible for how to solve or address the problem you have identified in the first two stages of design process. The first stage is the empathize, that's the research stage. Second stage is the define, we have defined the problem. Now we have identified a problem, we have identified a need. Now we want to start going ahead about and we want to go ahead with ideation, thinking about solutions to the problem. So how do we dive head first? How do we know that the problem we are thinking of is the problem that would solve the answer or the solution we are thinking of is the solution that will solve the problem we are looking at. Because it's different identifying that okay, traffic is bad, people go to work, traffic is bad. If you rely on normal Lagos traffic, you would always go to work late. So that's the problem you have identified, or you have looked at the environment and you found out that okay, this is something that is happening now. So how can we this ideation involves thinking of different ways to solve that problem, different ways to address that problem. So something I would want every one of us here to have in mind is that at the point of ideation, no idea is a bad idea. You know, when we're talking about research, empathizing, there are certain ways you have to do research if you want to get the information you're looking for. Like it was very structured. You don't just go into research like that. You have to have a goal. You have to think about the questions you're going to ask. Are you asking quantitative? Are you asking qualitative? You have to think about what information you are getting from your users. So the empathize stage, the define stage is very structured. There's a right way to do it, there's a wrong way to do it. But the addition stage is not like that. The addition stage, it just allows you to ideate without judgment, without evaluation, just ideate. Like at this point, as cliche as it may sound, no idea is a bad idea. The, the whole point of the ideation phase here is just bring ideas, just ideate. So whether that idea is good or whether it will actually solve that problem, that would happen at the end of ideation. So you can worry about budget, business goals, other considerations. You worry about whether this solution you're thinking about is feasible at all. You're supposed to worry about that later. But at the point of ideation, just be as free as possible. Just think up as much ideas as you can. Let your imagination run wide. So the Nelson Norman group defines ideation as the process of generating a broad set of ideas on a given topic. It's no attempt to judge or evaluate them. So it's a two-step process. It's like it involves two different things or two things coming together. So yes, you are generating you're generating a set of ideas while making no attempt to judge or evaluate them. So now you might have thought of the problem and you have to think of a solution that might solve the problem. But there'll be some constraints. You think, is this feasible? Can I actually do this? Are the funds for this available? These are thoughts that you might have that might limit your ideation. But at this place of design thinking, you should try as much as possible not to judge yourself or evaluate your ideas. Just go ahead and generate as much as possible. So that's the mindset I want every one of us here to have at this point. So in the ideation phase, you would explore and come up with as many ideas as possible. Some of these ideas would be potential solutions, and some of them would end up in the reject pile. So at this stage, the focus is on the number of ideas rather than the quality. So we're focusing on getting as much solutions as possible, as much ideas as possible. That's the main aim of the ideation phase. Why is the ideation phase important? Simply, it's where we find the answer to our problem. It's where innovation thrives. It's where you would get that solution that your user has been missing. So it's the additional phase represents the key transitional phase from learning about your users and the problem and the problem they are facing, coming up with solutions to that problem. So that's where the ideation phase is. That's the gap it's filling here. So how do we prepare for ideation? How do we actually head into ideation? Do we just sit down and start ideating? How is it done? Are there structures to help us? Are there methods that we can use to ideate better? Yeah. So that's what we would be we'll be discussing now. Now, first of all, the first thing you should do when you're trying to prepare for an ideation session is to introduce a change of scenery. Move away from your usual settings. Maybe not in your do not do it in your room, somewhere that is familiar to you. Move to somewhere different, somewhere new. A new environment can introduce new stimuli, can trigger fresher ways of thinking. So the first thing you should do when you're preparing for an ideation session is like introduce a change of scenery. Make sure you're somewhere different. Make sure your mindset, go into your mindset that okay, I'm about to do this. If your current environment does not represent what you want to do at that point, go somewhere else. So create a relaxed environment. So a relaxed state of mind has been proven to get the creative juices flowing. The best ideation sessions are those where the participants feel at ease. So most of the time, if you're a freelancer, you'll be ideating on your own. But if you're in a team, if you're working for a company, you're in a team, you would most probably be ideating with a group of people. You could be three, you could be four, you could be 10. Yeah. So you have to create a relaxed environment. You have to ensure that people feel comfortable sharing their ideas. There's no judgment, there's no evaluation, just whatever you think, whatever um solution you can think of, let us know. So if you're working with a team, it's usually advisable to prepare icebreakers to bring the group together. relieve any tension and get people warmed up. So icebreakers could be something as simple as before you guys start, you can ask, okay, introduce yourself and add one weird fact about you or a fun fact about you. So by the time everybody has done this, introduce themselves, they feel more comfortable. People that are shy, people with stage fright, people that introverts, they might feel they'll become more comfortable sharing their ideas now at this point. So after we have gotten the right um, environment, we have made it relaxed, we have made everybody comfortable. That's to get their creative juices flowing. Then now we're going to use what we have learned in the empathize and define stages and prepare a list of how might we questions. So this is where we stopped in the previous class. The how might we questions. We talked about this how might we questions. We have empathized and we've gotten research. We have defined that research and gotten a problem statement. And from this problem statement, we have generated some how might we questions that would lead us directly into ideation. Remember, it's a step-by-step process. Each one leads to another. So in preparation for ideation, it is best to create a list of how might we questions related to the problem statements you have defined in your research. So this methodology breaks your problem statement into actionable segments, framing it as an opportunity rather than an obstacle, so that we can now begin ideation. So now just imagine it in your head. You are in the correct environment. Everybody is relaxed and ready to start throwing ideas up and down. Then you have generated your how might we questions. So now what you're ideating or the solutions you're generating, they are not just random solutions. There are solutions that are catering to your problem statement. That's from the how might we questions. So you're in front of your laptop or you're probably in a Zoom call with your teammates. The environment is relaxed, and now you just write your how might we question somewhere. Just keep it somewhere everybody can see it, or you can even read it out loud. Then once the question is out there, people to read, then you start ideating. So how does this ideation? How do we go into ideation properly? Yeah. So I would mention some ideation techniques in this class, but there are a lot more. You can do your own research and find out others. So the first one we're going to talk about is brainstorming. So brainstorming is something a lot of us are familiar with, something you have heard over and over growing up. It's a common word. So it's the most basic form of ideation, and it's one that you have practiced at some point in your life. In a brainstorming session, you verbally bounce ideas off each other in hopes of finding a blended solution. So we have brainstormed in this class before. Just when sometimes I throw out questions and in the chat section, people are just dropping ideas, like dropping their comments. Then from someone's comments, you get an idea, you drop your own comments. That's just basically brainstorming. You can brainstorm as a group. You would probably a round table, everybody's seated. Then someone just throws the how might we question. How might we improve the landing page of this application? And someone says something, someone says another thing, another person says something else. That's brainstorming. It's conversational. It's like having a conversation about the problem, but at the same point in time, you're also generating a solution. Because as you're ideating, another person is bouncing your idea back to you, making it better. And at the point where everybody has spoken, it's now easier or it's now possible for us to blend the solutions that has been ideated from everybody to get the best. So now you can either brainstorm with a group and or brainstorm on your own. I like giving these two scenarios because you never know what route you might take. You might decide to become a freelance designer, or you might decide to be someone that works 5 to 8 to 5 at the company. So if you're brainstorming with a group, like I've said before, you may sit around a table and share ideas as they come, bouncing one idea off another and combining this with a little mind mapping. I'm also going to get to mind mapping. So if you're brainstorming on your own, this is just simply everybody's familiar with this. Let's say you're brainstorming for a new project, or you want to start up a company or something like that. You bring your paper, your pen, and you're just writing down things. So another way you can even brainstorm on your own is to get an audio recorder, a recorder, then just talking. You have the how might we question, you have the problem you're trying to solve, then just start saying what you think. Just talk through your ideas out loud and record it. So this way you can go back to it later and filter what you have said to see what you can take from it. So this is a way you can brainstorm on your own. So brainstorming is the very first technique that we're discussing today. And that technique is body storming. So the body storming is derived from brainstorming, but instead of verbally saying it out or writing it down, you do it like the word implies body storming. So now you have a problem, you have a scenario. Remember, we have created user personas, we have created user journeys, we have created user stories. We have understood our user to a very deep level. We know what they're experiencing, we know their daily life. Now, in body storming, you set up an experience or scenario that resembles the problem you're solving. You can involve people or props. Just use your imagination. So by changing your environment and replicating the context of the problem, it can be easier to spot solution. For example, you have your problem is people with traffic. So now you can just stand up from your workroom, you can go to the road and stand there. Just stand there and imagine you are in this scenario where you have an appointment in 10 minutes time. Then you can see how long it takes for you to stop a taxi or a cab. So now you are in your user's shoes. You are body storming at this point in time. Now, when you're in this scenario, you can now think to yourself, what do you think can help me in this situation? What would I want in this situation? What is preferable for me? Or what would work best for me in this situation? Because now you are in that situation. You know the need that they have. It's realer to you. So, but something just involves putting yourself in the headspace of the problem you're trying to solve. Unlike brainstorming that is mostly mental, you are thinking about it. So another technique that we often employ is brainwriting and brainwalking. They are very, very similar. So while brainstorming, like the very, very first one we talked about is verbal. Yeah, you're talking about it verbally, orally. You're bouncing off ideas orally. In brainwriting, you write down your ideas. You write and write and write. If you're in a team, if you're in a team with um a specific number of people, so how it goes that in when you're brainwriting, you write down the how might we question would be there. Then me as the first person, I would write down an idea I have in my head or a solution I'm thinking of. Then I pass the paper to the next person. The person looks at my solution and think, okay, I have something else to add. The person adds something else. Then the person passes it over to the next person. The person reads the both of them and thinks, oh, I have something else to add. So that's the way the paper goes around everybody till it reaches me again. And I see what everybody has written. So that's brainwriting. Mhm. So it's similar, like brainwriting is basically brainstorming on paper. You're thinking about it and you're writing it down. In brain working, you do the same thing with your group, but it's more dynamic, it's more physical. You move around in brain working. So depending on what your team members would like, what you think your team members would want to engage in, or what you yourself as a lone wolf or as a freelancer or whatever field you decide to go in, decides to do, you can choose to bounce off which method are you going to use, which one are you going to go for. So in brain working, how we do it is that you create different stations. Let's say for the problem you have identified, you have gotten three different problem statements, three secondary problem statements pointing at specific problems or specific features. Then you create three stations for those three problems. And now I, as the first participant, I go to the first station and I write down an idea I have. Then I go to the next station, I write down the idea I have. I go to the next station, I write down the idea I have. Second person does the same thing. So now instead of passing paper around, the designers themselves, they move different between different ideation stations. So the reason why people employ this sometimes is that we feel by the time you move, you know, when people say this exercise makes our brain more active. So rather than just sitting down and our body is feeling relaxed and laid back, sometimes you can stand up and move your body a little in brain walking. Another method that people usually employ, which one is a very popular method, is the crazy eight method. So in crazy eight method, the goal is to generate 8 sketches in 8 minutes. It's very simple. That's why they call it crazy eight. 8 sketches or 8 solutions, 8 ideas in 8 minutes. So you set a timer and you start sketching out ideas, usually 1 minute per sketch. The sketches don't need to be perfect, just enough to roughly capture what the idea would look like in the end. So the reason why we usually employ this crazy eight, which is a bit crazy, like the name implies, is that what we want to remove the pressure of people, pressure of perfection. Because if you give someone a whole if you leave someone alone, the 8 minutes given, they might use it to just sketch one idea. But when you remove that pressure of the person, just tell the person, just generate something. I do not care what it is, just anything at all in 8 minutes. It's now easier for you to just sketch out things without that pressure of perfection, of dotting your I's and crossing your T's. So this is a very popular method that people usually employ. Then another one is mind mapping. Mind mapping is a visual ideation technique that encourages you to draw connections between different sets of ideas or information. So mind mapping is basically creating a map of a map of your ideas, basically. So now you have identified a problem. Let's say you have identified a problem and you have seen a key factor contributing to that problem or a key theme in that problem. Like this, like the case study we used before, the e-commerce case study, where we identified the theme of tracking struggles. So now we can decide to start mind mapping by writing tracking struggles in the middle, let's say in the middle of a whiteboard or in the middle of your paper. Then we start mapping it, tracking struggles. We then just draw an arrow and you can write why, because apps are too complicated. That's we have already mapped something. Then from that why apps are too complicated, you can also map another thing, make applications seamless and intuitive. So this is just about mapping different ideas, different information. More than one person can create a mind map. Sometimes what seems obvious to you might not seem obvious to the other person. So just create a keyword. Our keyword here is tracking struggles. You put it on your whiteboard, then anybody can come in and map whatever insight they have, or whatever connection they can think of, resulting in a visual map. But at the end of this mind map, and you're able to cut everything in details, you would find some themes that are recurrent that keep coming over and over and over. And you may be able to get an idea on an information from it. Another one is reverse thinking. So reverse thinking is another method of ideation. So instead of thinking about a problem as it is, or using the how might we statement, we flip it. For example, asking yourself, how might we make our online courses more accessible? So now this is the how might we statement that was derived from our problem statement. So if you want to employ this reverse thinking here, we would ask ourselves, how can we make our how can we make it as difficult as possible for our users to take our online courses? So now we start thinking, how can we make it as difficult as possible for users to take our online courses? So it's a crazy way to think. It's also a way it's also an icebreaker. So now we can start thinking, how can I make this as difficult as possible? Okay, I have an idea. Let's add ads to discourage people from taking online courses. Let's make the courses as long as possible. Let's make the fonts very, very small. So these ones are even by the book ideas. But by the time you do this ideation technique with a lot of people, you will get different ideas on ways we can make this application difficult. So it's the opposite of what we want. So by the time we're able to get more ideas from this process, we now flip it again. And when we flip it, we'll be seeing the exact solution that we would need to improve our application. Another one is the worst possible idea. This one is very similar to the reverse thinking idea. So in this worst possible idea, it's just just throw the question out there. You have a problem you're trying to solve. What's the worst possible idea? What's um the worst possible way to solve this problem? So now that edge of perfection, that aim to please has been removed now because people are now thinking about what's the worst possible way to solve this problem. So any idea, as ridiculous as it is, works. So by the time we're able to get different ideas from different people, if we sit down with these ideas and reflect on why is this idea so terrible, like why is this actually terrible, it can give us an insight to what would be better or what the solution might look like. Because if you can recognize something that is terrible, it means there is something that is not. So you can reveal insight into what a good idea might look like. So now we have discussed how many. We discussed brainstorming, body storming, brainwriting, brainwalking, crazy eight, mind mapping, vast thinking, and worst possible idea. So there are lots more. There are lots more ideation techniques. There's analogy. There are lots more. So you can just go ahead, do your own research, find out what works for you. What gets your creative juices flowing. Because it's not people are different. You might want to ideate on your own and just write down the ideas. You might want to ideate with people. You might want to body storm. You might want to put yourself in that scenario. Sometimes if you have creative block and there is no idea coming to you, you might want to use reverse thinking. Now, ideating alone versus with a group. Now, you can ideate on your own, like I've said before, or you can ideate with a group. So each has its pros and its cons. So when you're ideating on your own, there are two clear advantages: simplicity and speed. Simplicity because you're the one in charge. You take the ideation method, you go at your pace, you know what question you're asking. You might find an idea and you like the idea. It's you're alone. You're the one in charge. So everything falls down to you. You're the one ultimately going to choose the final idea. So it's a lot faster to work on your own. So it's both simple and fast. When you're listening alone, some tools like ChatGPT or Notion AI can help you to brainstorm or generate new ideas. But we should just remember that these tools are just here to guide us, not be us, because we're the ones that have done the research. You're the ones that have empathized with the users. You're the one that understands them. So for whatever, remember this is an ideation. Ideation is a very rough process. It's not supposed to be perfect. And giving you that idea that whatever ChatGPT gives you would not be perfect. But the goal here is to generate as much idea as possible, quantity, not quality. So at this moment in time, any idea from anything at all is acceptable. We'll be the ones to filter it and find out the best from it. So this is for ideating alone on your own. If you're ideating with a group, you're working with other people, this can be more helpful. This can be very helpful because there's a lot more brains in the room. Means there are a lot more ideas and perspective on the problem you're looking to solve. So now you might be thinking of something a certain way, someone might be thinking of it a certain way. Sometimes you see a solution to a problem and you would think to yourself, wow, I would never have thought of this on my own. So those are the pros of ideating with a group, but it can be slower because there's a lot of differences. Someone might have an idea and it's not you do not agree with them. So we have to work longer to come to a middle point or to blend our ideas together. So depending on whether you're ideating alone or you're ideating with a group, you should decide the ideation technique you're going to use. Think about the nature of your design problem as well as the people taking part in the ideation session. So know how your team works, know how you work. If you're a product designer, we might also be working as a product product manager and handling a team of people. Because sometimes in some industries you would work as both a UI/UX designer and a product manager. So know how your team works, know what works for your team, then decide on what ideation technique would work for you. So now that you're now familiar with it on your own, try out all of them. Which one works, which one doesn't work, which one gets your creative juices flowing. You might even try all of them if you want, because as no like in ideation, quantity that matters. We want to generate as much as possible because when we have um that quantity, we can now filter out and get the quality. This is very unlike define when I was being strict on having it clear and defined and as short as possible or as simple and precise as possible. In ideation, have it as rough and as much as possible. So those are the two ways we can ideate, alone or with a group. So we're going to have hands on. We'll try crazy eight and reverse thinking. But before then, do we have questions? Can we hear me now? If you can hear me, please indicate in the chat section. All right. Is there any question or should we go ahead? Okay. So for the crazy eight, the how might we statement I would like us to look at. How might we improve the checkout experience on a food delivery application? So this is the problem statement. This is the focus of this ideation process now. We want to improve the checkout experience on a food delivery application. Yeah. So like I've said before, what do you need? You need a room or a desk area that is free of distraction for about 10 minutes, a blank sheet of paper. So now, if can decide to, this crazy, if you can decide to do it digitally using your Figma application or your FigJam application, you can decide to do it on your phone, on your, like physically with paper, pen and paper. So depending on how you want to follow us or how you want to follow along, you can choose anyone. So usually you get a blank sheet of paper, like a probably a huge paper, A4 paper. You have that. You fold it into 8 sections. You can use a pen or your paper. Then you have a timer. As for your 8 minute timer, then you can use your pen, colorful markers, any or stickers, anything you want to make it as fancy as possible or however you like it. That's for the crazy eight. This is what you will need in a crazy eight session. So crazy eight is usually physical because you need to sketch it out unless you have a digital have the your stylus so you can sketch on your screen on your phone. But usually it's preferable, most people prefer to use paper and to do it physically for the crazy eight. For the reverse thinking now. So now we're going to reverse the question, the how might we statement, and we're going to ask ourselves, how might we worsen the checkout experience on a food delivery application? How might we worsen the checkout experience on a food delivery application? So I'm going to leave this question out there. Let's just start thinking about just start thinking then. So while before we get into that, let's do hold on. So let me share my screen and let's do some introduction to Figma. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen, please. Just react, drop a reaction. Oh, hold on. All right, now, so if you use the link I sent last week in the channel, you should have logged in. You should have created an account by now. Hmm, hold on. So this is the Figma interface. Figma interface for the purpose of this course, we are going to be working with FigJam. So now Figma has different parts. Figma is the application where we design. So you have if you see in this is your dashboard. I do not know how yours would looks like, but it should look similar to this. These are created projects that I've created already. Mm. So once you click the create button here, you'll see design. So this design means you want to create a Figma file, a design file, a file for designing. That's the prototyping stage or the testing stage. So this is design. Then FigJam. FigJam is a part of Figma that is used for ideation. Remember, we are at the ideation stage of design process. We do things like mood boarding, with mood boarding, mind mapping, user journeys. You do it in FigJam. They have slides. Slides is a new addition in Figma where you create slides like how you have like the slides you were looking at previously. You can now create it in Figma. So these are the three main things that we use Figma for, right? So before I go into FigJam, let me just show us some things here. So like most of the examples, most of the stuffs we did last week, and I gave us tax on, I asked us to use Google Documents to do it because we were yet to do introduction into Figma. Yeah. But everything I asked us to create can be done on Figma. User personas, the user journey mapping, the empathy maps, is best done in Figma. By the time we become more conversant with the interface of Figma, the tools, the panels, all these things, you should it's best that you can even go back to your tax. You can go back to the tax description and what you have done there and make it better. Now this is a persona. This is a persona that was created here using Figma. So you can see how it looks. It's very simple, nothing too fancy. Remember, I said your persona should be visually appealing and relevant. So we're not here for colors and a lot of showy designs. This is just a very simple persona. This is the medical student. This is the shopaholic. This is the stay-at-home mom. So this is the user persona for an e-commerce website. We have the about, the goals and needs. I don't know if you can see it all. About goals and needs, the motivations, everyday activities, frustrations, and device. Hmm? This is a very simple user persona. You can also get templates on Figma. While you can also get it on templates on Canva too. So just putting that out there so we are aware. So now when you're on Figma now and you want to ideate. Remember, we're in the ideation phase of design thinking. We want to ideate. So we are not concerned with this for now. We're not concerned with this part of Figma for now. We want to use FigJam. So when you click create, then you click on FigJam. So when you click on it, a new file should be created for you. So this is the interface. This is how it looks like. It's just a white blank board basically. Remember, I told you most of the time to remember when most of the addition techniques involve use of paper and pen. So this is just modeling a paper and a pen. The paper is a blank sheet and this is a blank sheet. So you can do anything you want here. The pen, the tools are here that you can use. All the tools are here. So at the right side of FigJam, you're going to see the menu. We have the files. You can create a new FigJam file, a new design file, a new slides file, a new buzz file. You can import anything you want to do here. You can edit. You can view. This is for objects in case you are selecting an object. Your text settings. You can arrange your plugins, widgets, preferences, help and account. So all this is just these are the file actions you can have. You can Sorry. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. So now we can, in view option, you see this show dot grid. So if you can zoom in, if I zoom in here, you see that my my whiteboard is graded. Like there's some dot grid. This is just basically to help you have a sense of um a spatial sense. So you know this is a straight line. Are your lines straight? Is it curved? So that this is basically a grid. So you can decide to switch it off. You come to your view, you can decide to switch it off here. So there's no grid now, it's just a blank paper. Then you can decide to switch it on. Best practice, leave it on so you can, so everything is aligned and arranged for you. So preferences, is there anything here? Nothing else. So now, next is the title or the name. You can decide to name your file. Let's say we name the ideation. So we have named it. We have renamed it. Just click on it and rename it. So then pages, you have page one, page two. Once you click on this plus icon, it adds a new page. So if you're using the free version of Figma, because Figma has the free version and the paid version, has the one for students for students, that's the educational version. Depending on what subscription or what plan you're using, the free one has you have access to 3 pages on the free Figma plan. You have page one, you have page two. Okay. So you can decide to collapse the panel, just collapse it. Expand panel, you can collapse the panel here. Then this is at the left. Then at the right, you have your name. This is your details. You should show your name and your profile picture if you have one. You can decide to spotlight yourself. Spotlight yourself. Spotlight me just means follow me. When we get into it in details, we'll see it in action. Then this is just you want to jump on a call, start conversation. So let's say I'm working with a team of people and I want to ideate with it's time for ideation. I want to have an ideation meeting. So I can decide to share this Figma link to them. And when they're all on this page, we can start a conversation. That's a call. So if I click on this start conversation, I'll just enter a call, like a call as I am on a call with every one of us here on this Zoom call. If I can decide to start a conversation with people on FigJam too. Yeah. So now this is the template section. So right beside my profile or my name rather, then you see the templates. So you can decide on different templates. You would see the empathy map we created. You can find the template for it here. The user persona, you can find the template for it here. Empathy map, journey maps. To show you that all the stuff we have been doing since previously, they are not just theoretical, they are all part of definition, all part of ideation. So we do all of that in FigJam. So you can get templates here or you can do it by yourself. So this is mind map. This is a mind map template. This is a SWOT prioritization matrix, sorry. So this is if you remember we talked about SWOT analysis in the competitive analysis. So all the templates are here. Another one here is the reverse brainstorming technique. So we talked about reverse reverse thinking just now. So all these are templates that you can use, or you can also decide to do it on your own. So yeah. Then this is comments. So this is to view comments or to add comments rather. So like how I add comments to your Google documents to give corrections and make comments on your work. You can also do that here. So remember, this Figma, FigJam, slides, and all, it's a collaborative tool. It's not a tool made for you to use on your own. Like they have made allowances for it to be as collaborative as possible because you're going to be sharing this with a, a large number of people, depending on how large your team is or how large your organization is. So this is for comments, to add comments. This is the timer. So now you can add your timer, your volume, you can add music too, you can add voting, you can vote. So now for now, let's say you want to do the crazy eight on this platform. Okay. You can just simply come here and type in 8 minutes. Okay. 8 minutes. Then you can click on a music or something you'd like, file, then you play. Playing. So I don't know if you guys can hear it, but just when you if you're with your PC right now, you can also be following me on FigJam so you can see it by yourself. Yeah. So when you play the music, then you just start your timer. So now the timer is running. You have your music, the instruction and everything. You can now start whatever you want to do. So you can mute it. You can pause the music, just depending on whatever you choose. So this is the share option. So this is the share option. This is very particularly important because most of our tasks, you might have to share your Figma link or your FigJam link. Mm. So you have to make sure that this who has access here. So it can be only invited people and it can be anyone. So when you share your FigJam link to me in a submission, make sure that this setting here is set to anyone. Anyone should be able to access it. Anyone with the link. Anybody you share the link to should be able to access it. So what can they do? They should be able to view and comment. If you want someone to edit your work, you can change it to edit. But for me, you're submitting it to me to view it and to comment. If there is need to comment, you just give it change it to view. Mm. Then you can now go back. Then you can copy the link. When you copy the link now, link has been copied to your clipboard and you paste it on your LMS platform. As easy as that. So if you want to collaborate with somebody, you copy the link and share it to them. But you make sure that the link you would send to someone that you want to collaborate with should be set to edit, not view. Because now you want them to work on this document with you. So now I'm going to share this link. Let me send it. Anyone can edit. So let me save this. Then I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to share it to the I'm going to share it to the in the Zoom call. So now if you are with your PC or if you are here, you can join with that link. So once you join with the link, I would see you so we can collaborate on the FigJam file. So just join with that link if you are here with me. Okay, so that's for the wow, I'm seeing everybody. So yes, Divine is here, Joyce is here, Joke is here. I don't know who these two are. So if you can see now, I can click to follow you. Once I click on here, so now I want to know what Divine is doing. I just click to follow. So it leads me to exactly where Divine is. So this is Abigail, this is Ajoke, Daniel is here too. So welcome everybody. Now we're all here on the same Figma file. All of you can edit because the link I shared in the channel in the chat section was an edit link. So now if you want to get into this is the tool panel. This is the panel we use to do everything on the FigJam file. Yeah, so in page 2, let's see. Oh wow. Okay, I can see everybody here. Okay, so if you want to follow me now, so what you can do is just click on where you see Rufina or Ru, just click to follow. So wherever I am, you will be there too. Okay, now so let's talk about navigation. Like how do you navigate FigJam? How do you navigate? Like you see me now, I'm zooming in, I'm zooming out, zooming in, I'm zooming out. So it might be stressful for some people. Like I can see Joyce. So it might be stressful for some people. There are different ways to do that. So depending on what system are you using, a MacBook or are you using an Android, you can use control. If you want to zoom in, if you want to see something clearer, click on control or control plus to zoom in. All these tips I'm going to give here is it's already on FigJam. It's already on FigJam. You click on file. One sec. Hold on, sorry. Okay. If you click on help an account and you click on keyboard shortcuts, it should open all the shortcuts you can use. So this view, this control, yes, control plus, control minus, zoom in and zoom in and zoom out, it's here. So there's no need for you to start writing it down or cramming it because something that as you use constantly, you get used to it. And if you forget it per se, you can easily find it here in this tool. It's always on Figma. Just go to help and accounts, go to keyboard shortcuts, and you see all the shortcuts you can use here. Yeah. So now back to navigating FigJam. If you want to zoom into something, you can use Control plus to zoom in, then Control minus to zoom out. Remember, you should be, first of all, we are in this tool. We are the select tool. I don't know, so everybody's following me. Everybody should be on the select tool. So if you're on if you're on FigJam with me, just click on this select tool here. So you can either click on the select tool, you can type V on your keyboard. So even if you are on a sticky note, you're currently creating a circle or a rectangle. Once you click on V, you would instantly revert to the select tool. So select tool just allows you to select anything, allows you to touch things, allows you to point at things. It's basically like what it says, select tool. You're not moving, you're not viewing, you're just selecting. I want to I want to select this. See why I selected this now. That's what select tool helps you to do. So once I'm on the select tool and I click on control plus, it zooms me in. So this is control plus. If I hit on control minus, I zoom out. I'm going out now. So this is it's like it's step by step. Zoom in, zoom out. That's for zooming in. If I want to move around, I'll just click on this hand tool. Once I click on the hand tool, it allows me to pan around the desktop. Because once about this fig jam, it's a very huge landscape, like a huge whiteboard, a huge digital whiteboard. So you do not know, you might get lost. Where are you? So now if I want to go down here and I'll just select this hand tool. Once I select hand tool, I double click, then move. So I'm using my, so I don't know if you're using your mouse or you're using your trackpad. If you're confused, just let me know. So that's for moving. For moving, because when you're designing, you'd have to zoom in a lot. You'd have to zoom in. See, I'm zooming to this. You have to zoom in to see things as detailed as possible. So you have to get familiar with this tool. So now, if you don't want to use your keyboard and you want to use your trackpad to zoom in and zoom out, this is a bit hard. You can use your two hands. Put your two hands, two fingers on your trackpad. Put your two hands to your two fingers on your trackpad. People that design should be familiar with this. If you have used Corel Draw or something similar, you might be familiar with all these keyboard shortcuts or this hand or this movement. So if you want to zoom in, you don't want to use Control Plus or Control Minus to zoom in and out. You want to use your trackpad. Listen closely. Use two hands on your trackpad. Two fingers should be on your trackpad rather. Then bring the fingers close to each other. It zooms you out. Bring the fingers apart from each other. It zooms you in. So like that. I hope we're all following. I hope you're able to also do it on your end. Yeah. So now let's say I want to select a particular document. Like I want to zoom in. Let's say I'm far off now. I want to zoom in on this. Okay. First of all, click on V or you click on go back to select V to go back. Remember, this select tool is a shortcut for it is V. And for the hand tool, a shortcut for it is H. So now I want to select this. I want to zoom in on this, but I don't want to start clicking Control plus 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 plus. And an easier shortcut for me to zoom in on that particular object that I've selected is Shift 2. So Shift 2 is instantaneous. It zooms you to the object you just selected. So now if you want to view your entire file, your entire document, you click on Shift 1. So remember, all these keyboard shortcuts are something that you can find yourself. You can start now to implement it or to do it and test it out. But you can always practice it later on or get familiar with it rather. So now we have discussed navigation. How do you zoom in on something? How do you select something? Yeah. So now for this toolbar down here, you have different sections of the toolbar. This is the navigation. We have already talked about this navigation. This is the select tool, and this is the hand tool. Then this now is the marker. Sorry. This is the marker tool. Allows you to write, to draw anything you're drawing. If there's anything you're doing on the board, just Control Z to undo it. Yeah. Now this is the marker tool. I can write as anything I want to write with the marker tool. When I open up the marker tool, I would see other tools, the highlighter, the washi tape, the eraser. Let's say I write something with the marker or I highlight something. Yeah. If I want to erase it, I can click on the eraser. Please, who is doing this thing? I can click on the eraser here to erase this, and click on the eraser here to erase this. So this is just your toolbar. It means all your tools are here. So if I select on the marker, I can select the color I want to use. This is currently on yellow. It can be on green, on violet, on white, on black, on red, orange. So yeah, any tool of your choice. So after the marker tool, you enter the stickers to sticky notes. So if you remember now, when we were talking about empathy map or affinity map, I told you can use sticky notes to create it. Now, because FigJam is a digital ideation tool, they have created a digital sticky note for you. So Just simply click on it or you drag it out here. So once you get the sticky note out, you can type anything. Once you click on it, double click and you type anything. So you can type anything, you can mention anybody here. Okay, that's for the sticky notes. Then after the sticky notes, you now have the shape tools. Shape tool. So depending on what shape you're looking at, the ellipse tool, the diamond tool, the rectangle, like what shape you want to use. What shape you want to use. If you want to get a circle, you click on the ellipse tool, put in your circle here. You can also add a text to the circle. Yeah. So just anything you want. You can also click on more shapes to get more shapes here. You can see the cross, the flow chart, your advanced. Yeah, different shapes here. Then after the shape tool, you now see your text tool. Your text tool. This is your text tool here. Once you click on it, you can now start writing whatever you want to write anywhere. Followed by that, you have your section tool. So most of the time, you would be working with a group of people. You'll be working with a team. So the best way to separate your work from someone's work is to simply put yours in a section. So now I can decide, okay, so I can see Joyce here. Let me create this section. I would say Joyce, use this section. I will just name this section Joyce. That's Joyce section. So anything Joyce wants to do should be here. And create another section. You can see Abigail here. I'll just so now this is it's named section one. If you want to rename it, just double click on section one and rename it to Abigail. Yeah. So now Uti, please create your own section. Raymond, create your own section, and Miriam, Chukwuka, create your own section. So that the people I can see on the board. Create your own section and rename it. Remember to click on this section. See the section here is beside. Click on section, then draw it out. Joyce, you can work on creating your own section. Let's see. Okay, so after section, you have table. So you can also create a table easily. Just click on the tool. Can add a column, can add a row, add row, add row, add another column. And name it. You can change the color. Let's say purple. So yeah. Okay, so well done. Raymond, rename your section, please. It's on view. Miriam, it's not, it's not, you're not on view. Raymond was able to create his section. Abigail is creating a table right now. So I don't think it's on view. So after the table, you have your stamp. So stamp just lets you easily. So I can say good. I can click on thumbs up or a heart or a thumbs down or question mark or a star on a plus one. So I can just click on this thumbs up and go to Raymond section and stamp it there, thumbs up. So I'm simply saying, okay, Patrick created this. I'm simply saying, okay, the thumbs up is very, very small. So I'm simply saying thumbs up to Raymond, to Patrick, you did this well. So it allows you to just quickly stamp on someone's work or share your ideas or collaborate. Remember, this is a very collaborative tool. We're working with a lot of people. So it has different tools to make sure this collaboration is as easy and as seamless as possible. Okay. So I want to go back to select, so I click on V to go back to my select tool. Okay, divine. I can see your sections here. So anything you are doing now. So in each section, you can add add sticky notes, whatever section you have created now. If you're on the file with me, add sticky notes there, add a circle, add a block, add a triangle. Just do what you want to do. Yeah. Okay, Joyce, hold on. Let me shift your section a little because I think you took okay. Mhm. Okay, yes, Joyce, you're then collect the other one to take it back. So now that's for the basic basic tools. So now you have quick actions. So here you can get stickers. You can also find templates again. You can get widgets. You can get plugins. We're going to talk more about what plugins are and what they do when we go to FitJam properly. So the widgets, you have your templates, you have your stickers, you have all that. Yes. Okay. Stickers and all. So just you can go work can just go around with all these tools. So this is your um the ink tools here. You can click on on your marker, let's say purple, and put your one, two. So anything you want to do here, you can also erase it. Hmm. So yeah, that's all. You can highlight. So these are the basic tools that you can. These are basic tools that you can use Big Jam for. We have gone through the menu, the share section, then the toolbar. So if you look at all these things, you see different ways you can use it: the stamps, the sticky notes, the shapes and the connectors. Yeah, text, the text tool and section. So this is sections now. So everybody has created a section and can do whatever they want in the section. Now let's say I want to evaluate people's work. I can simply go to Abigail's section, zoom in here, and I see what Abigail is doing. Uti section that is pink. Patrick section, he's using the sticky notes currently. Chuku, are you having problem creating your section is transparent? Okay. Wow, he's drawing. Okay. And your sticky notes. So yeah, this is ideation now. So now you can do anything you want digitally and it saves to you. You can collaborate. This is your right triangle. So now we are very zoomed out. That's why things are a bit bad. Okay, so Joyce created a table, and a circle. Okay, so yes, now, yeah, so that's pig jam in properly. But before I leave the tools, I also want to show us something. I want to show us something. Okay, now, so I'm in Abigail's section right now. So if you are there, you can follow me. Once I click on a circle, or let's say I click on for the shape tool now, there are different parts of the shape tool. You have the lines. These are the lines. They are called connectors. So they connect one shape to another. Then you have the normal shape to the different shapes. So now if I click on, let's say, a diamond and sit here. So let's say I give it a color yellow. So the stroke also aligns with the color. So now if you look at this shape that I've created now, please, I hope everybody's following me right now. This shape I've created right now, it has there is an option now to add a connector, connect it to another shape. If I click on the shape again, up another shape here. If I click on this another shape, if I click on, so this is a diamond, so it has four sides, which you can connect it to four different things. So now these connectors now, it's called connectors because it connects one shape to the other. I can click on this connector and remove this connection. I delete it. Now these two shapes are no longer connected. I can click on this connector now and I want to go here. I want to connect this to this. And then I want to delete this one. So now I'm connecting these two shapes. So this is a curved line. This is a curved connector. So even the connector has its own options. You can change the color of the connector. I can change it to green. I can make it a straight line connector. I can change it to a curved connector or a slanted connector. Let me show it. So this is slanted. If I change here, this is now more curved. So I can also change the endpoint. If I do not want an arrow to be here, I can change it to a ball. Okay, sorry about that. Let me go back to this. Okay, yeah. So I was discussing connectors now. So depending on what you're using the connector for, you can change the endpoint, can make it a line arrow, can make it a solid arrow, can make it a triangle, can make it a diamond. Just depends on what you want to use it for. You can even name the connector. Let's say I want to say this connector is let's say Abigail, since this is Abigail's side. So sometimes you might want to describe like what does this connection mean? Then you give the connector a name, change the name. So if you click on if you see where I clicked on, when you click on the connector, you see a text tool here. You can see add text. And you can now write whatever you want to write or the text you want to add to the connector. So for the text tool, you can choose a small font, medium, large, or you can type in the number of the font you want to use. Even the font style or the typeface. sketch, technical, scribbled. And so yeah, this is the basic things you can do with Figma. Okay. So Raymond, Patrick and Raymond, I guess you're the same person. So Patrick is already typing out his. So now back to the hands-on we're going to create before. So let's go back to the reverse thinking. Let's do the reverse thinking case study. How do we make? Let's go back. Let me see. Yeah. How how might we worsen the checkout experience on a food delivery application? How might we worsen the checkout experience of a food delivery application? Yeah. So let's say I decide now if you're on the FigJam, if you're on the FigJam file, in whatever section you have created, now let me type it out in big font letters. So yeah, so now this is our how might we question using the reverse thinking brainstorming technique. Yeah. So now this question is out there. You can simply add a timer, you can add your music and all, and then you tell everybody create your own section and sketch out what you think. How do you think we can worsen the checkout experience of a food delivery application? So this is mostly for this Fig Jam helps for remote workers when you're not in the same place with your team members. So you can now collaborate digitally using FigJam and Figma. But best case scenario, you should be in front of your team. Should be in front of you guys should be together in the same place, ideating and throwing, bouncing ideas off each other. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so let me see what brainstorming boards you think they do. Okay, I think Daniel probably this is a template. So this is an empathy map template now. It's already created for you can easily this is what the person feels, what they say, what they think, what they do. So instead of creating it in Google Docs like I had us do before, now that we are familiar with the FigJam interface, we can now create it in Figma or in FigJam rather. So that is it for FigJam introduction. Our next class would go into user flows. So that's where these connectors and these shapes would make more sense and how we can help you to organize the ideas we have generated in the ideation phase. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Hold on, please. Okay, so on your own time, you can start to brainstorm with the reverse thinking method or with the crazy eight method. Just time yourself. We do not have a lot of time left. So now, the last part of this class now is how do we know which idea we are going to keep, which idea we're going to retain, which idea we're going to implement, or which idea we're going to discard or toss away. Because if you remember in the ideation, we are just generating a lot of ideas. Most of them would not be good. You just want the general, you just want a large quantity of generation, of idea generation. So after a solid round of ideation, you would likely have more than one or two interesting ideas on the table. How do you know which ideas to keep and which one to throw away? So in general, the best idea is the one that one clearly and specifically addresses the user needs you have identified during your research. So now what you do here is get your problem statement. Remember, your problem statement is just one sentence. You get your problem statement, you write it down. You get your solution, you write it down, or you envision it, or you sketch it out, or you keep it there, and you compare both. Is this idea, is this solution, is this whatever I have ideated, is it answering to the problem I have identified? Is it addressing the problem? So you have to make sure that the idea that you want to keep is clearly and specifically addressing the user needs that you have identified during your research. That's the first and most important thing. Then two, do you have the time and the resources to implement this idea? Now this is more cohesive. It's not just about the design aspects. You have to know your team members. What is the funding that has been allocated to creation of this solution or this application? So this idea you are bringing in, is it too far-fetched? Because sometimes it might bring something that is mind blowing. It seems amazing at first, but when you try to do it, it's harder than it should be. The stress and the money you're going to spend on it is not worth it, or the gains and the interest that you would get after deploying the application might not be enough, might not pay you back for what you have spent on it. So you have to also ask yourself, this idea, this solution, can it be reasonably implemented with the resources available? You have a 3 month timeline to design something or to create an application, and your idea you have sketched out something that will take years to implement. Discard it or just keep it at the side. That's the second question you should ask yourself. One, is it answering the need of your user? Okay, so now I've identified that yes, it's addressing my user needs, but we do not have the resources or the time or the funds for this. The next question you need to ask yourself is, does it tackle the problem that you have defined without creating other problems or issue that might impact the feasibility of the project? Sometimes this design thing might be just like you said, two-edged sword. It will be solving a problem somewhere and bringing a problem elsewhere. Because when whatever idea or innovation or something mind blowing that you bring to the internet, whatever innovative solution you have brought somewhere or something new, it take time for people to get used to it. There will be some blocks in getting used to the application. Let's say Discord. Now, Discord is an application that it's very seamless for communities. There's a lot of channels. There's a lot of settings or some chat interfaces that allows you to communicate with a lot of people, host like millions of thousands of people in one community in a very organized manner. That's Discord for you. But the learning curve on Discord is very high. Out of 100 people that are onboarded on Discord, exactly, out of 100 people have been onboarded on Discord, 40 might stay there because of how complex the application is. So now ensure that the problem that you are creating is tackling the problem. It's tackling, ensure the solution that you're creating or you're generating is tackling the problem, and it's not creating other issues along with it. It's only something that we have to also consider. Okay, so when you talk about let's say the traffic problem, you ideated a solution of, let's have a digital application where you can book driver, something like Bolt. We are all familiar with Bolt, where you can book a driver or something. Then you start thinking about there are some other issues that having a digital application like that, someone that has access to your location, your house, is it an avenue where scammers can just can try, or maybe kidnappers or something like that. So someone I dated was someone found their problem, or the research they did was on kidnapping in our class. So ensure that the digital application you're creating or the solution you're ideating is solving a problem without creating other problems, because there are always two sides to one coin. We have to look at it from all aspects. It's our job to ensure that what we are giving people to use, I'm telling you, I'm giving you this with a surety that it would solve your problem. But I do not want to give it to you with that surety that it will solve your problem while also creating another problem at the side. So we have to ensure that. And the last one, and not the least, is that the idea that you want to keep should have the potential to delight your users. How it should make your users happy. So by the time you have 20 ideas or 30, depending on the amount of people you ideated with, you have a lot of ideas, a large quantity of ideas. By the time you match each of them to these criterias, it narrows it down. You now have at the end of this checklist, when you have addressed that, yes, it's answering the problem. It can be implemented with your resources. It doesn't create other issues, and it can delight your users. You might end up with 2 or 3 ideas that you can pick from, or you can even merge and blend and work with. But this is something that you should do after ideation. Do not think about these things when you're ideating. It will limit your ideation. Remember, ideate without fear of judgment. Ideate without evaluation. Do evaluation after. So now, in summary of everything I've discussed today, the ideation stage is about generating creative ideas for practical solutions to the problem you have defined in your how might we statement. So now you have your how might we statements out there. You're trying to ideate and think about creative ideas to solve that problem. And early in the ideation stage, no idea is a bad idea. This is something I've been trying to say. It's simply important to generate as many ideas as possible. Because in in truth, generating an idea it's not easy. It's actually something innovative. something mind blowing, something that would delight our users. Most of the time when we come to ideation, we're thinking of how to solve a problem. We go to typical solutions, by the book answers. But now in addition, we're asking ourselves to think outside the box. Think of something new, think of something innovative. That's the reason why we are going through all the stress of getting to a new environment, making sure we are relaxed, evaluating our research. If addition was that simple from the very first time we saw the problem or we identified the problem, we could have started research then. We could have started ideation then, rather. But no, we first of all try to understand the problem. We then try to define the problem before we started ideating. So in other aspects, we should do everything we can to push past our assumptions and set way of thinking about the problem, yeah, and its most obvious solutions. So at least what I was just saying, to try to as much as possible think outside the box. Leave the obvious solutions, the easiest solutions. Just think, brainstorm, ideate. There are many types of addition methods that we can use: the brainstorming, the mind mapping, the crazy eight, the reverse thinking, the worst possible idea. Just brainstorm. Think of different solutions to your problem. Then at the end, you evaluate. Now, also, the method you're going to choose, that's the ideation method that you want to choose, should depend on your needs and goals, as well as the problem itself and where you are at the project. So, whatever method you decide to use, you want to use brainstorming, you want to use mind mapping, you want to use crazy eight, or you want to use reverse thinking. It depends on you, depends on your goals, depends on where you are at the project. If you are probably stuck, you don't have, you're not getting new ideas, you're not getting something innovative, you try reverse thinking, you try what's worst possible idea. Because now reverse thinking makes you it pushes you away from thinking of obvious solutions. Now you have to think in reverse. So depending on your needs also, or your situation. If you're a remote worker, you might try something like mind mapping. You have Figma already there. You create your mind map. You ask your team members to put their input with arrows and all, and you see everybody's input. Depending on your needs and goals. So for Crazy Eight, now Crazy Eight is usually done. You usually do Crazy Eight when sketching. You don't start sketching the UI of the application. You apply your Crazy Eight. So it depends on where you are in the project, your needs, your goals, your team too. So those are all the things you can look at before you choose the method you're going to use to ideate. So now when you have generated all this idea, how you identify the best idea is the one that, like I said before, has the potential to address your user needs. It's feasible given your time and your resources available to you. And the one that has the most potential to interest and delight your users. So that's the best idea. When you're done with your ideation, you now evaluate it, you judge it, and you pick out the best. So that now you can now start working on that idea to bring it to life. So that's the stage that we are in now in the design thinking process. Any questions? Raise up your hand if you have questions. So next on Thursday, rather, we'll be discussing mapping user flows. So now we are heading to the we're heading to the application proper, the UI properly. We'll talk about mapping the flow of the application, how the application is supposed to look like, how our user moves from where to where. This is similar to user journeys. Talked about user journeys, user stories. It's the same thing. They are very similar. We're going to see from this in this part of the design thinking process, we are still going to get information from our user journeys, from our user stories. Yeah, so everything is tied together. There's a reason why we went through all that before we got here. You're going to use all the information you have synthesized at this stage too. So that would be on Thursday. For today, do you have any questions? Okay, what of the link to next week class? The link to to last week class, the slide link. Okay, I'll drop it in the Discord channel. Mm. Okay, Chikodili, what can I do without a PC? You cannot do UI design without a PC. Especially the UI, you need a PC. Figma does not run on mobile, so you need to get a PC to practice and to learn. So do you have any other question? Have another question? Okay, Zeno.
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much, Rafina. So in my own case, I think this is this first Zoom I'm officially joining. I've missed a lot. I was trying to get a hang of Discord, to be honest. I was confused. I think I just got a hang of it this evening and I joined this class. So I don't know what I've missed. I don't know how I can get help to be brought to date on what I've missed. I don't know where to go to even access that kind of information if it exists. Please, can you help? Thank you.
Okay, okay. So what you do, Zeno, is first of all, you can text me on the Discord, like private DM me on Discord so I can onboard you and give you the walkthrough. Because you have to be registered on the LMS, you have to catch up from the LMS. We're already entering our tax, our fourth tax.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, so just text me after this meeting. Make sure you text me after this meeting so I can reply you as fast as possible. Yeah, just
Okay, thank
text
you
me
so
now.
much.
All right. Okay. So Daniel, yes, I would check your task and correction. So method, big jam is for wireframing too. No, actually, you can wireframe in FigJam, but you should. But there are other places to do that. Figma is better for wireframing. When we get there, I would show us everything. But you can wireframe in FigJam because it's just boxes and colors. So there are boxes there. There is a circle, there is triangle, there is a rectangle. So you can also wireframe there. But the best place to wireframe is Figma. So by the time we enter prototyping, high fidelity wireframe and low fidelity wireframe, we'll start using Figma properly. Let's not Basi, you would have to watch the Zoom call. You'd have to watch the Zoom call on YouTube, the recorded class. It will be available soon. Yeah. So is that all? I think that's all for today's class. Okay, okay. Lushala asked. Okay, Lushala asked, for ideating on your own, you mentioned it helps in simplicity and speed. But at what point will it contrast with you thinking about designing for yourself and trying to pick what works best for you? against when you are ideating with a group with different ideas bouncing around. Okay, I'm not really sure I understand your question. Can you unmute your mic and ask that again?
Okay, hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, okay. The question was basically, I think from the start of the class, at one point you said the major design of UI UX design is to look at how you can solve user needs.
Okay.
But you mentioned two places of ideating now, ideating on your own and ideating in a group. And if I could recall from the slides, there was a place at the beginning of ideating with a group. He said that most pro UX UI designers use this. So I'm
Okay.
asking if maybe at this level we are left with ideating on our own, like just thinking, brainstorming of ideas. At one point, will it contrast within, but instead of you thinking for the user, you're thinking for yourself, like you're trying to, obviously the brainstorming is to find solutions to problems, but in the sense where you are now thinking of these things by yourself, maybe you forget, like you go against your problem statements or like what you have initially, like the problem you are trying to tackle from the user standpoint. At one point,
Mm-hmm.
really contrast as against when you're ideating with a group, like when, as you mentioned, when they're like different people's, maybe there's a mood board or like a whiteboard where people write their ideas and all that.
Okay. First of all, I think you answered your own question because you said it yourself. You are going against your problem statement. So once you start going against your problem statement, it's not contrasting with a group. It's just contrasting with what your role as a UI UX designer is. Because even as a group, you guys may be three. If the three of you go against the problem statement, you would still the solution or the ideas that will be generated will still not be what the user needs. Yeah. So it's not about the group. It's not about the person. It's about your method, the methodology. Okay, Olushola, can you hear me now? Sorry. Olushola, can you hear me? Okay. So like I said you answered your question by yourself. When you said you are going against your problem statement. So once you go against your problem statement, that's where the contrast starts from. It's not about you ideating as a group or ideating alone. What ideating as a group can help you in this situation is that when you have steered off the right track, someone in your team can bring you back. So that's the pro of working in a team. Like I said, two heads is better than one. Yes. But sometimes you have to accept the situation you are in. That now you're a freelance designer and everything falls to you. So now at the point that you steer off your track. You're no longer working with your problem statement. You're designing solution for yourself. When you start designing solution for yourself, you will know because you are the UI UX designer. You're the one that has collected the information, the research. You know the problem. You have defined the problem. You did all that by yourself. Remember, you did that by yourself. So when you start off that track, you might even be three in your team. That's a group, and you guys might still stay off that track. So the number of people does not matter in this situation. It's what you are doing, is your methodology, it's how it is done, how your ideation was done, rather. Understand? So that's why I said first things first, you have to ensure that what you're ideating is being generated from what you empathize, what you have defined. So the very first thing to do when ideation is to write down your how might we statement. Get it down there. So anything you're ideating will be going in the right direction. So does that answer your question? All right, thank you. Sure. Okay. All right. Someone else raised their hand. Is that all? Someone else raised their hand. Okay, Ifeanyi Augustine, if you came late, you'd have to check the YouTube channel. Yes, you can quote. So yeah, so we'll be ending the call now. Good evening, good night, everybody. Zeno, please text me on the Discord channel so I can onboard you properly. Thank you, everybody, and let's look forward to our next class. Good night.